Welcome to a brand new episode of The 60-Second Car, the podcast that covers every single moment and every single minute of the Fast and the Furious franchise. My name is Dan, joined as always by my co-host with the most boast, Mr. Daniel.
Hello.
What time is it?
Oh, I got my watch fixed since the last episode, and I found it's diesel time.
60-second.
Welcome back to the 60-Second Car. We're in minute 61. We have passed the 1 hour mark. We're we now? We're now halfway through, right? We're just over halfway through, maybe?
Yeah, we're over halfway through. I think maybe like 10 minutes ago we were halfway.
Oh, really? Okay. I know I mentioned it, like, the last time I mentioned it, we were not halfway through, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. And, like, everything sort of weighed on my chest. I was like, wait a second, I have different expectations. Even though I don't. We all know we're going to be here till the day we die. Family for life, right? Yep,
go ahead, you talk.
No, I was just going to say we're in minute 61. Did you have another thing?
Oh, it was to say if we actually do get the 5 movies I talked about in our previous episodes. 4 movies? 5. Fuck, was it 4 or 5? Yeah, that's like, that'll be till we're dead.
Okay, so we talked about all the women that could be in that women movie. Women movie. So I say that because
do you mean Ghostbusters?
So that's kind of my thing. One, screw everybody that was pissed about that movie just existing, and the fact that people were saying it ruined their childhood and stuff like that. Screw those people. But at the same time, I also kind of live under a guise of, like, when you make stuff like that, is it, and I may not be able to answer this question, you may not be able to answer this question, I don't know. Is it truly empowering to women to just have a let's focus on just having an all-woman cast?
So I can't answer that for obvious reasons, but we saw the Ghostbusters reboot. I think that's what we're calling it.
The newest one? The newest one? Or the women one?
The women one. The one with Leslie Jones and co. Yeah, the women one. We saw that in theaters, and the young woman who's watching it sitting next to me in a packed house, mind you, was losing her mind every time. Like they caught a good. Yes, like she was so high on that movie, and it's not an experience I've ever had in a movie, and she was feeling it. It was really connecting with her, and I'm like, okay, so this movie's for you.
Yeah,
like I don't care about the original Ghostbusters. I went to this one because I'm like, oh, this one actually seems funny. But it was connecting with her on a whole new level, so I think so.
That is good to hear. That is fair. I think that if it does that for people, then I'm all for it. For some reason, this has been happening a lot. So, like, when I was in school, we went to the same school. When we were there and I was doing, like, we were talking about film classes and sort of the future of film, we were talking about the fact that, like, people were pretty much rearing up to do a lot of, like, female-led movies. And this is before it was happening, so, like, when I finally started seeing it happen, I was like, oh, that's great. And then, but that was before, and there was no talk while we were in school that there were going to be all female cast movies. And, we have Ocean's 8 and Ghostbusters and, Fast and the Furious 14. I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, no idea.
We have these movies, and I think they're great. Especially, like we were just talking about, especially if it really, like, shows people and shows little girls or women who didn't really have anything but misogyny in their life. If it does show, like, representation there, then that's fantastic. For me, I've always thought that we just write women terribly in movies with, multiple genders, and if we just wrote them better and maybe had women write them, maybe that would be a better situation. But I guess we'll get there eventually. maybe we're just not there yet. Maybe we do have to get these all women casted movies in before we start going to that route.
Yes, I do think that's the case, because I don't. Did you see the Leslie Jones and Co. Ghostbusters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've only not seen the last one, and apparently they're doing another one based on the last one.
Oh yeah, they just announced Kamel and Patton in that one. Couple dudes.
Yeah.
Love dudes. But the other one, they wrote Chris Hemsworth like they wrote women in all the 80s movies.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I honestly think we need more of that. Still.
Who wrote that? Was that them?
Oh, I don't know.
Were they part of that writing squad? Because I know they're all writers, especially Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig, yeah.
But that because of that, I'm sure that they wanted to put like a nice twist on it, and it's and I love that that's exactly what a bunch of men's activist people are afraid of, is people doing exactly that. I find that hilarious. But
Paul Feig and Katie Dippold.
Oh, okay.
Writer for Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Okay, well that's good. I like them. Paul Feig wrote a lot of stuff actually, I think, which is great. Okay, that's interesting. Did you the movie was okay, right? I don't remember it too much. I also don't remember Ghostbusters other than like a few popular scenes.
We watched not the most recent one, but the first one with the kid from Stranger Things in it. I don't remember.
I think that is the most recent one, isn't it?
Oh, I thought there was one in between.
There's one I think being made.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know, man.
Yeah, the person with the curly hair, right?
Yeah.
It's like Egon's like child or grandchild or something. It's like, I think it follows that. And Paul Rudd.
Oh yeah. So I saw this like within the last few weeks, and I was like, it's already gone from my brain.
Oh, you did? Okay. 2021.
I remember the other one a lot better. Okay.
It came out like, God, it must have been, was it during COVID or was it right before?
2021 would have been, quote unquote after, maybe when things were opening up again.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, that's, yeah. COVID exists differently in my head for the like at least a year after everybody started like going to stores and stuff like that. We still didn't leave the house.
Oh, I'm still in a mask at most things. Like when we were at Disney World, we were like the mask people on the planes and stuff. Like my dad wasn't and got a cold. We kept an eye on him thinking it could have been COVID. Thankfully it wasn't. But yeah, we were like, ah, shit, here we go.
Oh, I will never, I think for the rest of my life, get on a plane without a mask.
I've heard that like the way they filter the air, it's actually like safer than the terminal, but that's fine. I also have a mask then.
Well, I'm not out of a mask in the terminal either. The moment I like step in front of the airport, it's masked up, because like COVID or not, there's so much garbage there. There's just people traveling from wherever and doing whatever, and it's all dirty and just I'm pretty like, I can't count the amount of times that I've flown to like an influencer trip or whatever it might be, and then come home and just been sick for a week. Like every event is like that. Granted, that has a lot to do with the fact that we're at a convention. There's a ton of people there too, but at the same time, it's the same concept. There's a bunch of people you don't normally hang around with that are all spreading germs. And I think now this may be a conspiracy theory for me, but it's not like a crazy one. But I do feel like people are sick and they tell themselves, I paid so much money for these tickets and the travel and the hotel that I'm still going anyway. And if you're one of those people, and it may not be true, like I said, that's what makes it a conspiracy theory for me. If you are one of those people, fuck off. don't come and make everybody else sick just because you paid money for it. I hate that.
So I absolutely agree with you, and I've been that sick person who canceled something he spent a lot of money on.
Good.
Not last year, but the year before. We go to Outside Lands every year, as you can tell from these things on my wall.
Mhm.
I think it
says Out-eyed Lands because I can't see the S because it's blending in.
There's one somewhere around me, but we didn't go to the third day because halfway through the second day, I was feeling like shit, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just dehydrated. Oh, I've got sunburn." And then the next morning, I did a test, and so we didn't get to see Mitski or who else was that day that I probably would have skipped instead to see Mitski, Post Malone, other people. Oh, I missed Weezer. I really wanted to see Weezer. But, I was being the responsible one, and I told some people, I'm like, oh, it's still gone. I'm like, one, I felt like shit.
Yeah.
2, no.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like, it's so selfish. I feel like it's so selfish to be like, I'm going anyway because I got to see these things. It's like, yeah, you may never see them again. That's very possible, but likely you'll probably see them again because they'll be around at some point. But yeah, and maybe I'm just being an old curmudgeon boy. In other words, or in things related to like Outside Lands, what's the podcast festival's coming up soon, right? Maybe it's January. I think it is January. What the heck is it called? The one it's in San Francisco. Happens every year.
Oh, Sketchfest.
Yeah, Sketchfest.
So it's podcast, it's sketch, it's improv, stand up. Yeah.
I only care about the podcast. I only hear about the podcast, to be honest.
I think I only ever go to the podcasts. Oh, wait, no, I've gone to Improvise Shakespeare a few times.
Okay. I've never been. I've been to events in Sacramento where I've interviewed people who were doing stuff at Sketchfest, like Janet Varney, and talked about. At that point, God, we talked about Nerdist stuff or something. But I've always wanted to go, and I'm like on the edge of like taking some time off and just flying up to San Francisco and doing some show and seeing some shows. If I do, you have to come with me.
Okay. I mean, we've already got tickets to one of the things I sent you a message about.
Oh, did you?
We are going to the Benson Interruption.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
I missed. There was one here recently, and I missed it.
I've never been to one of his like movie interruptions. I've been to hella Douglas movies. I've seen him do stand up. I've never been to one of these. It's weird to have like assigned seating in a movie theater where people are just going to talk over it on purpose. So that'll be probably weird. But so there's 2 Fast and Furious events that there might be a third. There's for sure 2. There's the Benson Interruption of Fast X, which when I sent you the thing about it, you're like, are we ready to hear him trash it?
Yeah.
It might hurt our souls, but maybe. And then I'm on the fence about another thing where it's the Fast and Furious musical. The only thing that's stopping me there is that it's like on a Thursday night. The other ones,
what if Luda shows up and starts doing his music?
Dude, oh my God. I want him to storm the stage and say, "Move, bitch, get out the way." And I'm like, all right. Fair. So those, one I'm already going to, 2 I'm considering, and then I almost always go to Never Not Funny. It's my favorite podcast, and the guest, Janet Varney, because they're tight with all those people. So I think one year they had they probably had Cole Stratton, and then Janet's been on a couple times.
I think doesn't Janet like help organize it now?
Her, Cole Stratton, and a third person I can't name started it almost 20 years ago or whatever.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, all right. But I didn't know that. I think when I talked to her way back, like this must have been like 13 years ago. No, not that much. Like 8 years ago. But yeah, that was
no, dude, that was probably like 13 years ago.
God, it might have been. It was a SAC anime that I met her and talked to her on. It was the first episode of the Dan Sucks podcast.
Why Dan sucks? Why Dan sucks? Why do you suck?
It was episode
Quoting
1.
my own song.
it was episode 1, but there was an episode 0. Were you on that episode?
Was that the Ron Funches?
No. The episode 0 was where a bunch of us were in a group playing we were playing a game of some sort. I don't know. It might not have been. There was like 12 or 13 of us in episode 0 if I just wanted to try out this podcast idea. It obviously became something completely different after that because that's when I started interviewing voice actors and voice. I mean, Janet Varney and Ashley Birch were the first 2 guests on the podcast. Ron Funches, that must have been episode like, I don't know, in the teens of some sort, probably up there. But yeah, that was a fun show as well. I was gonna say something else, but I totally forgot. I re-listened to that episode, the Fast and the Furious draft episode from All Fantasy Everything that I know you listened to recently. Do you remember them talking about? And because I want this to happen. I so desperately want this to happen. I remember thinking this the first time I listened to the episode. I want to see an origin movie of Tej and Roman, and how one started as an R&B singer and the other one started as a rapper / Atlanta DJ, and how they became part of the family.
Yep, that's would watch.
Because that would totally make sense within the universe of the Fast and the Furious, and how it is just a documentary on their actual lives and how they got involved with everything. I would absolutely watch that.
That episode is so funny of All Fantasy Everything.
Yes.
Roxanne Gay comes in swinging.
Absolutely. I've considered hitting up Sean and being like, you guys talked about doing another episode of this after Fast X came out. In fact, I think they recorded that before Fast 9 came out. So there's been 2 movies, and then maybe after the 3rd movie, I'd be like, hey, do you want to have some other guests on? Maybe even bring Roxanne back, and we have a 6-way draft. Because we can absolutely do that without a problem.
That'd be sick.
So if you're all listening out there and you wanna hit us up for more Fast and the Furious content, or maybe a Fast and the Furious draft, what we mean by that is go watch or go listen to All Fantasy Everything to learn what a draft is. It's literally a fantasy draft of quite literally anything in the world. But they had some good picks. There were some picks where I'm yelling at the radio saying, "Hey, that's not how that happened," or "Those are 2 different movies." Because now, maybe you can help me with this.
Here we go.
So, David Bory picked driving a Hummer through the favelas of Brazil. And I'm sitting here going, wait a second. I don't think that happened. I think that's Bad Boys 2.
I have never seen Bad Boys 2. I remember them driving a big vehicle just through the streets of Brazil and parking it.
You're talking about the Hobbs's tank vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not a Hummer, but what they do is, I don't even think it's in it's not in Brazil, but it's in Colombia. The Bad Boys 2 boys drive their bright yellow Hummer down a hill through all these drug lab shacks and stuff and things. For those who don't know, Bad Boys is a who's the guy that does all the Transformers movies?
Michael Bay.
Yes, it's a Michael Bay movie, and that scene is literally more Michael Bay than anything else, because there's just explosions as they're driving down this hill. It's pure explosions. But he got those mixed up, and I'm sitting here going, nobody's correcting him. They all thought this, and I'm thinking to myself, are they having the Mandela effect, or am I misremembering this? Because I do not remember a favela getting trashed by a giant Hummer. And it would have, I guess, been Fast 5. That's the only time they're in Brazil, right?
I mean, X, but like you said, it wasn't out yet. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah,
I think you're in the moment. You're high on just yelling about the movies, and then you forget, and it doesn't matter, and so you don't care.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that tends to happen a lot in that podcast. But also, what happens is they talk about my favorite things in the world. And I would love to draft the Fast and the Furious because I have some good picks. Anyway, let's talk about the Fast and the Furious. We're still at this table here, and we have Babyface versus actual Baby.
Yeah.
Okay, you have the first line, right?
Yeah. So she's kind of in the middle of talking about how the family came together, and Jesse and Leon just showed up, and then she said Dom's like gravity. People are just drawn to him. So that's how this minute starts. And she basically is like you are, like you were drawn to him as well. And he laughs, and then he's just like, no. He's
he
like,
lays on the charm.
He's like, no, but there's also kind of a little bite behind it. He's like, no. The only thing I'm pulled to is, sorry, I wrote down the line because I thought it was so cheesy.
It is.
The only thing that pulled me in was you. So he just pulls people in.
And that's where she gets like super. She's not blushing, I guess, because I think it's kind of hard to blush on command. But if it was real, she'd definitely be blushing because she has that like face of, you just said the smoothest thing in the world to me and I'm falling for it. No matter how cheesy it is.
Yeah, she's really feeling it. Like, yeah. And then she has a line that like comes off like double entendre. It's nice to come first every once in a while. I don't know it's supposed to be written with a wink, but knowing what happens in the next scene, there's a wink there. Mia, you dog.
Not quite the next scene, because there's a little scene in between.
Oh, right. No, that's foreplay.
But it is possibly the strangest car acting I've ever seen. It's sort of on par with Suki's driving in Too Fast, Too Furious. But it's
God, Suki.
Yeah, Suki. Suki's gonna make a comeback. But like, okay, let's go to it, because my God, yeah. It's so okay. First, we learn that she has her own car, which is, you know, kind of one of those things where you're like, oh my God, Mia has a car too. We didn't think she did any of this stuff. 1 hour into the movie.
Well, she's the only one that's carpooled anywhere, so sure.
True. And the question, my next question is, did they drive there separately, or did Brian already know she had a car and she picked him up?
Well, he doesn't have a car other than his work truck that they know of.
That's true.
Maybe at all. So maybe she picked him up.
Yeah. All right.
She, with her learner's permit, went and picked him up.
Now I'm trying to remember, when they're in the kitchen, does she say you can pick me up at a certain time? Or does she just set the date for a certain time?
I think she sets the time, but there could be people yelling at their radios now that we're getting it wrong.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah,
I was just fixated on the time.
Yeah, right. I don't even remember the time.
10 o'clock.
Right.
What the hell? For dinner.
Yeah, 10 o'clock's crazy. But then again, we don't know how late they sleep in. These people tend to party all night long, and maybe they sleep till like noon. Who knows? It's not like any of them has a job except for Brian.
Yeah, he has the actual job. Everyone else has a... Well, no. She's got to keep the market open. Do they sell gas there?
No, I don't know, because we'll never see that market again.
That's right.
That market doesn't exist anymore, as far as we're aware. I don't know, but there's a whole lot of cheese and a whole lot of smiling. She has a baby blue car with a similar sticker, so like, you know, obviously, you know, it's the family sticker. And then there's just a whole lot of I'm leaning into stuff. I'm leaning into these corners.
I know that you've become really good at this as we go minute by minute getting screenshots, but this one, is she okay?
She is kind of not looking straight or forward.
I mean, I get when you're shooting these scenes or the camera through the windshield, you kind of have to play act, stop zooming in. Might be green screen. And stuff like that, where you have, you know, you're reacting to things that aren't really acting, as they call it.
Yeah, sure.
But like, has she never been in a car that took a tight turn? Just like
watching this, down. I would say that, you know, if this is the only time I've ever seen her in anything, probably not.
Okay. Yep. She's doing some drifting, which feels like foreshadowing for 2 movies from now. Makes you think.
She's only been driving for a few years, right?
I said earlier she's got a learner's permit, so she was breaking the rules even picking him up.
It is very possible that she doesn't have her license yet.
We'll meet at my place, and then I'll drive, but you have to be in the car because I need an adult.
So my question actually brings up an interesting question.
Your question brings up a question.
Oh, sorry. That brings up an interesting question. My question.
No, be proud of your questions.
That brings up a question. That brings up another question.
A good question.
That leads to a statement that also might bring up a question. I've lost track of it now. Do any of these people have driver's licenses, or do they keep getting dings and marks for reckless driving or speeding or racing or what have you, to where they just kind of can't get a license again?
Nah, man, they got one of these. They got a license to race. Mine is wanted.
It just says their first name on it. That's it.
Just first name, and you can pick your own status. So they're at the machine at Universal. They're like, do I want it to be wanted? Do I want it active? Or suspended? I think I'll go with active so I can actually go get groceries. Me, I'm wanted, and I don't know what that means. But if I get pulled over, this is what I'm flashing.
Man, I don't. There's another one.
Now she's happy. Yep.
Oh man, like it. I was watching this, and there are like it sort of makes sense how they cut it to where she's doing the right things, the correct things. But then there's times where I just like, I don't know. There is one part where, and I don't think it's this. It might be. Oh, it's right after this, because she does like a 180, and then you get to see the driver, and it kind of looks like her. It's sort of like, it's a skinny, like pretty thin woman with long brown hair. So it looks kind of like her, but when it did that, I wanted it so bad to just be this big, muscly dude driving the car.
You want it to be the dude who got oil in his mouth, who's apparently like an acclaimed stunt guy.
Exactly.
What the fuck his name was? Ted?
Ted, yeah, Ted. Where the engine's Ted.
Yeah.
They're in a warehouse.
So you see Ted go by. I'm on my way to the warehouse.
They're in a warehouse.
The one. Oh, Ted. He probably had serious medical problems.
Ted's probably dead, dude.
Yeah, I mean, getting full of oil like a water balloon, sure.
Oh, happy Mia. And then we cut to the 3 Civics with the neon lights.
Another heist.
Oh, we did we mention this? I think we might have mentioned this in a previous episode, maybe where Dom was like kind of okay with, and sort of just brushing over the fact that, well, he did say, if you break her heart, I'll break your neck. But like after that, it wasn't really a big deal that he was dating his sister anymore. Just kind of moved on. Maybe they were just like, maybe that was in his mind that, oh, if Mia's gone, you can go out and do a job. Mia and Brian are gone, we can go do our thing,
Mia knows about all their shit, right?
Well, she has to.
What if she didn't? What if she didn't?
At this point, she might not. But she obviously does near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
I don't know. She knows. I'm trying to create a world where there's more drama. There's not. No, it wasn't thought that well enough.
What would be the drama exactly? She just doesn't know, and she gets pissed because when she finds out.
Yeah, that'd be it. And then just like she has plausible deniability and is able to like potentially testify against him, and that's her also choosing to, side with Dom over the law like Brian does.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm writing a more complicated movie than this needs to be.
I was about to say there's no point at which they're like actually apprehended by the law, but there is a point. There's a point where that happens at the end of 4, actually. But yeah, I don't know. Like, again, she is just a kid, right? So does she care that much? Is she oblivious enough to be like, oh, they've only done it like once or twice, maybe once?
Has she ever been in on a job?
I don't know if Dom would ever let that happen.
What's the crew that we're supposed to believe are in these cars right here? It's Dom, Leon.
So it's
Jesse,
Dom and
Letty.
Vince, and then oh no, sorry, it's Leon and Jesse, and then Dom and Vince, and then Letty.
That's everybody else, so I guess that works out.
I think that's the order of the cars because the order of the heist goes the first car breaks the window and pulls the windshield off. And the second car actually comes in and, attaches the rope for the guy to go over. And I assume the guy's always Vince. But that means that Jesse must be driving the first car and Leon is pulling the windshield off. That's got to be it.
Sure.
I guess I don't really.
Dom's just there.
Dom's driving too. I think he's driving the second car, but I don't know what Letty's doing. She's just watching, or maybe Leon's maybe Leon's alone watching the radios because that's what he does.
Well, a thought just occurred to me. When they pull the truck over and they take it off somewhere, do they take it directly to the hideout, offload it, and then ditch the truck? Or do they offload the truck and leave it somewhere? And do they put all their players in their cars?
So, in a world where trucks likely have GPS, maybe that wasn't thought of for the movie, but
sure.
You would think that if they did go to their hideout, they would have found their the FBI would have found that hideout a long time ago.
Yeah, so it's probably not that one.
It still could be, but
yeah.
But it's probably not that one. I don't know. So this was my theory before too. I feel like they offload it to Hector. I feel like Hector is sort of the fence guy, or at least the guy that handles the fence. They steal it, they offload it to Hector, and that's why Hector has all that cash. And that's also why Dom trusts Hector, because they have this sort of agreement going on. And then they get in their cars and they go home. And then that way there's another separation there. Not footprints to track. Could be anything. Could be whatever. But they don't really show much in this, do they? They pretty much show that the guys are on a job, the team is on a job, and then we get to we're going to a pretty intense moment here, and not quite in this episode, but in the next minute we go to a pretty intense moment. But we do get to point out that after this driving moment with Mia, they go back to the car shop.
Yeah.
Back to the auto parts store.
I have a note here that I forget he lives in the store. I know going back to your girlfriend's house where she lives with her brother's probably not the move, but going to the store is not the move. But I mean, them shoulders we're seeing in this still. Maybe that's all you need and you'll go anywhere.
This is exactly the moment where I was like, oh, they made him probably gain a bunch of weight and get ripped. Because he looks great with a shirt off. And you don't really see that in the other moments where he's wearing a loose t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he wears the baggiest shirts.
Yeah.
He looks like he's in Korn most of these movies.
Looks like a freak on a leash. But this is exactly the last part of the minute. And you start zooming into I don't remember anybody talking about this. Where this is totally I don't remember anybody making fun of this. I don't remember anybody commenting about this. He just has a full-on bed set up in the back of this auto parts store. And Mia's just cool. We're definitely doing it. There's nothing that's going to stop that.
Look, she grew up around cars her whole life too. This is what she's into. Maybe this is what she'd prefer.
Maybe. Yep. Maybe.
Let's go split a can of NOS and then head to the back.
There's
an ad for NOS right there. Yep.
There is NOS, yes. If you want to split a can of NOS with the family, make sure you like the video or leave us a review on your favorite podcasting app, whatever you're listening to this on. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you all so much for watching us. Make sure to go to danotage.tv/60second to find out all of our links and follow us there. Let us know. let us know that you want to split a can of NOS. Do you want to split like a mega can or mega tube or whatever it's called, or do you want just the
Mega
normal mega tube? Or you want just a normal, like, I don't know, 24 ounce, a venti? You want a grande? You want a venti? What do you want?
I think NOS goes with like wine bottles, so there's like the Magnum and all that shit. The like gigantic bottles.
You want a Magnum NOS? Excuse me, I dropped my Magnum nozzle for my Magnum NOS.
Magnum NOS. And the episode.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate y'all, and I will see you all next time.
Magnum NOS family.